Master Grade Gundam Age-2 Dark Hound. Hey, what's up again, everybody? Robert184, 2Rs2Bs, GundamReviews.net, and if you can make it out all the way back there, it's the Master Grade Age-2 Dark Hound, Super Pirate Pilot Asuno's third variation of the Age-2 from the anime Gundam Age, mostly from the third generation, well, only from the third generation, unless you want to count the manga in between. But this kit is more than meets the eye, and you've already seen the unbox to the MS. Now it's time to take a look at the transformation. To kick things off for the transformation, you're going to want to straighten everything out. It looks like you don't have to detach the limbs as you do with a lot of other transforming Gundams here. But in this case, you're going to bring the wings and the side binders all the way up and then bend this whole shoulder part, including this gray part, all the way down, which is going to reveal the Vulcans up there. And the next part works better as expected, as you pop out the shoulders there, so you've got those little gray tabs released on both sides. Take these floppy parts here and bend them in, and when you do that whole thing, you can actually take the chest, and it just worked a moment ago, pop it up there and conceal at least part of the head. Then it's going to be Zedis duck time, as you may have seen that there's a big joint built into the chest section there, the lower part, and you're going to bring the whole lower body up this way, and you can also twist the arms back there while trying to keep this part actually up and intact. Then you're going to want to take these side skirts here and bring them forward while making sure that this black part here is actually going to stay in place and you're not just bending the gray part that attaches it on to the waist section. Then for an interesting trick here, you can take the waist section and open that up, and when you do that, the legs are going to flop out to the side, and if you bend them though, you're going to notice a very tiny little gray peg there, which is actually going to ingeniously connect into the side skirts and actually hold this thing and make it nice and solid. And sadly, it doesn't come across as that secure at all, actually, as the legs are probably just going to fall off on you. As you can see that there's really not all that much holding them on there, just this point, and you're only going to have that tiny little end there attaching it into the side skirt. But then it's time to go through the convoluted bending, which is not all that bad. You're going to bring it up, bring this down here, open this part up, and when you do that, you can take this gray part and bend it forward, and then you just take the whole thing, and you're going to go and bend this down here, which is going to retract it and bring it down to about there, which just seems that you've got this complicated mechanism there that is going to provide a little bit more stability, and yet it really does wreck the posability of the actual Gundam in terms of stability, and ballerina toes, and we're almost there. And it's hard to believe, but the whole point of that gray part getting exposed there in the leg is that it's just going to attach the arm on, which is actually good for stability there. The way that you're going to do it though, but it's unfortunate that it's at the expense again of the MS, you're going to pop off the 4 fingers there, and then you're just going to use the peg that attaches this into it to attach on, and he's basically going to be holding the back of his calves, and you'll just have to collect a few fallen off pieces. And reattaching things like those gray panels there on the back of the arms is going to result in pretty much everything that was attached becoming unattached. When that's all straightened out, you can take this part, bend it down, push this part in, pop this up, slide this up, and then you're ready to get this attached onto the front. Pop the skull open there, and then play the epic music as the transformation. When he's all finished in true Seeker style there, he's going to look actually pretty good for a Transform Gundam for no small part, or due in no small part to the fact that he's not just going to look like a Gundam who has just stood up and then flopped over horizontally here. Instead, you're going to see most of the parts that are going to make it look like an actual jet there. First of all, you're going to have the Seeker nose down at the end, which is going to look great. The wings on the side, I would say they're going to look a little bit better than the normal. Actually, the anchor shots are going to look very cool, I'd say, on the side. They definitely add to it in some way. The legs in the back are going to be pretty straight there. They're not going to look like total legs. They're not just sticking out at the same way. However, getting them there in the first place is still, I almost prefer the simplicity of the high grade, where all you have to do is just swap out the part, but you don't even have to swap it out, really. It's just going to be so much simpler and far less time consuming than you're going to need for the master grade. But ultimately, it's the chest gimmicks that's going to work very, very well, as you've got the part that was flimsy before is now going to actually pay off. The head is going to be buried, and those Vulcans, though, definitely give the MG the edge over this silly stickered HG. And just so you can see here is a top view with that tail stabilizer looking pretty good. But from underneath, yeah, it's pretty hard to sell those as looking anything other than just plain legs. You can see how the knees bend down here to provide the landing gear, as does this part of the nose cone. You're going to have to bend the side skirts up though, and you look like he's going to be facing downward pretty harshly here. Which is in fact the case there. It's not really going to depend on what kind of angle you put the knees at. Instead, it's all going to be dictated by the fact that you've got that very low part, or I'm talking about this part here, which doesn't really extend itself all that long, which means you're going to have the Lancer poking into the ground, but it's going to be helped here by the fact that it's on a rotating base. Overall, though, I'm going to say that even on the ground, it's not going to look terrible, but definitely this bird was meant to fly. If it's a hound instead of a bird, though, does that make any sense? And similar to what you saw when I showed off the parts, you can see for the chest here that you can actually have the seat come down to reveal Captain Ash sitting inside looking cool in his jacket, hair out. So that'll wrap up my look at the TF for this MS as he gets put into a Strider form. Anyway, why don't you let me know what you think of the process, of the stability, of the overall looks of the landing gear, and everything else, and stick around for the verdict where I'll have all my thoughts on the MS and the transformation, it compiled into one place. Anyway, everybody, as always, thanks for watching. See you next time. There's one noticeable gap for the SD BB Senshis Age 1, 2, 3, and FX. I'm talking about the Dark Hound, a void, which has just been temporarily filled. See you back here in 15 years, everybody, when they release the manga, Memories of Dark Ghost. Captain Ash, you seem pretty cool in terms of being a captain and all, but if you start stacking up our crews, I've got Zoro, Sanji, and who do you have? Shaldol? Jack Edge? I mean, the guy's just got a big knife.